Yo, it's me, CSCOTT baby, and I'm back with my review of the 2016 film Captain America Civil War, starring Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, and is directed by the Russo brothers. Got it right this time. So, going into this film, it came out, commercials were asking, what side do you want? Team Iron Man, Team Captain America. And now, despite not knowing what they're arguing about before you watch the movie for the first time, I was on Captain America's side. One, because he's one of my favorite Marvel heroes, even though Iron Man had Spider-Man at his side showing the commercials. But you didn't know why they were arguing. I assumed it was over Bucky. My thought was that, and this would have been a better way to go with things, was that Captain America wanted Bucky, to be free or whatever, and Iron Man wanted him to be behind bars. I thought this was going to be the main conflict. But then they shoved something in there that always makes me think. The Sokovian Accords. See, there's an incident at the beginning of this film where Okay, so Crossbones, which is Brock Rumlow from the previous film, he had a building dropped on him. From Captain America's Winter Soldier, he had a building dropped on him, and Hydra rebuilt him as this big machine. And he set up a bomb, which Wanda, Scarlet Witch, moves out of the way, but it somehow ends up blowing up a building, which, in all honesty, shouldn't have fucking happened. I always find it very convenient that it ends up in a building. And then the government has the gall to say, oh, you guys deserve to be in check. And I always think maybe, because the way the sequences go, bomb happens, and then right after the bomb happens, Alfre Woodard's character goes to visit Tony and talk about her son. I've always thought the government sent her there to convince Tony, because of his experiences with how, when he found out about his company giving their weapons to terrorists, he came back from that and he stopped production on all, weapons and stuff. And so I always figured that this woman was sent to tell her sob story to Tony by the government. Like, it's true. Everything she says is true. But that she was sent by the government to tell her sob story to Tony to get his sympathy so that he would sign the Accords and push forward this thing with the rest of the Avengers. Because here's my problem with the whole situation is they were in check. They had someone they were working with or working for, whatever. They had S.H.I.E.L.D. And it didn't matter. Because there's still going to be destruction. It's not about putting them in check. It's not about having someone in charge of them. It's about complete control. They don't want to be in charge of the Avengers. They want to control the Avengers. If they had signed the Accords, every single one of them, they would be shut in. They wouldn't be allowed to leave. No matter what, the government would send their own soldiers out to do their work. The Avengers would be put in check so much that... And this isn't put forth by the film. This is my assumption. This is what I see. The government wants to control the Avengers. And if they see that sending their people out is going to cause less damage, they're going to do that before they send the Avengers out, no matter what the threat. And that's not what you need. You need the Avengers. That's what you need. You don't need... Because here's my thing. The government's going to do it their way, right? And they're going to send out their soldiers to fight when they don't believe, when they believe their soldiers are the first line. So they're going to send their soldiers out, and their soldiers are going to get murdered by these weapons. And then they're going to send the Avengers out. And then, what? They'll push the blame on the Avengers for this? Because you sent out your soldiers first. I'm just saying that that's what could happen if they all signed the Accords. That's why I agree with Captain America. They want to control. They want to control the Avengers. They don't want to use the Avengers as weapons. They want to control them. to the point where they're not sending him out at all. You know, case in point, even Tony says later when everything goes down with Zemo, they asked me his suit. You know, Natasha asked me his suit. He's like, yeah, it's a charming 3-piece suit. I'm not a fighter anymore. I'm like, so Tony knows what this entails. He signs the thing, and he's not going out to fight. So why would you make everyone else sign it, knowing that they would want to fight even if, you know, it's just, sometimes I think Tony doesn't think straight. Case in point, the end. So, at a point. So the whole thing with this is they get a hold of Barnes. So here's the thing. There's a bomb that goes off at this consulate, whatever you call it, where they're going to sign the Accords. And it's Zemo's behind it, and he makes himself up to look like Bucky, so Bucky's the suspect. And so they immediately go after Bucky, and Cap knows it's not Bucky. He knows his friend is different. Because Rumlow told him, he remembered, and they scrambled his brain, but he saved him. Bucky saved him at the end of Winter Soldier, so something's going on in his head. He finds Bucky, they get out of there. Then you get the debut of Black Panther, and so Black Panther, he doesn't care whether or not, like, he's not like on a side. Like, there's, when you look at the sides that they're showing the trailers and stuff, you get the, you know, which cares on which side, and half of them aren't even part of this Accords thing. You got, so Team Captain America has Captain America, Bucky, Falcon, Ant-Man, Hawkeye, and Wanda. Ant-Man and Hawkeye aren't a part of the Accords. Neither is Bucky. He's just a fugitive. But Bucky's going to pick, I think Bucky and Falcon pick Captain America's side because they're his friends. And I think, like, Ant-Man is recruited just to be an ally. And Hawkeye, I think, sees, you know, Captain America's side on things. And of course, Wanda's a prisoner in her own home. Then you get Iron Man's side. And that's a little less straightforward. Iron Man has his beliefs. Tony has his beliefs. He's straightforward in them. War Machine is only on his side because he's his friend. Guaranteed. Even Natasha, Black Widow, she's not sure what she thinks about the situation, but she's going to sign it anyway. She thinks it's the right thing to do. Okay? Black Panther only cares about Bucky. Spider-Man, who at this point is a 16-year-old boy. And it's cool, Spider-Man's in the MCU now, but think of it this way. They're trying to present a grounded way of thinking things in these movies, despite them being alien threats. But this is one of those movies where it's grounded, right? You bring a 16-year-old boy in, right? And did he sign the Accords? Because if he did, like, here's the thing. You know, straightforward to some of them, because they even say afterwards that Ant-Man and Hawkeye, they signed the Accords, and then they're under house arrest. Did Spider-Man have to sign the Accords too? Because if he did, Homecoming couldn't take place. You see what I mean? I know he's a minor, but still, this means that Tony did not tell the government about Spider-Man. Did not tell them. Because otherwise, there'd be some kind of repercussions. He'd be under house arrest or something. Whether he's a minor or not, he'd be under house arrest. So, they didn't know about Spider-Man, even though there's footage, supposedly. They don't know who he is. They can't find him, I guess. Maybe they overlooked that, but with the rest of them, how they're forced to be on house arrest and not involved in Infinity War. And Spider-Man's still out there swinging around, had his own movie around this time too. Just saying. And Zemo, all right? In the comics, he worked for Hydra. Here, he's a Sokovian whose family was killed in what happened in Age of Ultron. Okay. I get they would change him up to work with this. I get it. It works. But his motives, splitting the Avengers apart, further using Bucky, he's not even, people say, oh, he's splitting the Avengers apart. No, they did that on their own, really. Bucky furthered that, but they did that on their own. Like, the whole thing at the beginning, he wasn't involved. That's what started it. They were arguing long before the whole thing with Bucky, happened. The murder, the Sokovian thing happened. They were still at odds when Bucky was mind controlled and broke out in the shield base or whatever. He just pushed him further. And all he was trying to do was get information. So they introduced the concept that there was more than one Winter Soldier. And then when they get to the base, he's killed them all. They're all dead. So why introduce that at all? I don't know, but he's killed them all. And then he shows the footage of 1991. And that Bucky is responsible for the death of Tony's parents. Which, if you have half a brain, you could have figured out when Winter Soldier came along. The fact that he had prior missions, dating over the last, 60 or some years, as Natasha said in that one, you could tell that Hydra had something to do with the deaths. Especially since they showed the picture of the death of Tony's father in there. So, yeah, we get Peggy's funeral in this, and it's revealed that Agent 13, or whatever it was, Sharon, is Agent Carter's niece. And I'm sorry, the scene where they kiss, it just made freakier. It's not, because what we find out in Endgame, it just makes me go, yeah. And if you've seen Endgame, you know what I mean. I'm not going to spoil it here, but it just, ew. Ugh. I'm just saying. The line, he killed my mom. Rhodey. Alright, so there's an air fight between Iron Man, Vision, and Rhodey's up there. And then you have... So, I think Iron Man fires the blast at Vision, right? Vision goes invisible, and it hits Rhodey and knocks him down. And then Iron Man seems to think it's Captain America's fault, because it was one of his people that was involved, but it's Iron Man's fault for firing the blast, knowing what Vision can do. Or no. Wait a minute. That doesn't make any sense. Vision's on his side. Who fired the shot? Was it Bucky fired the shot? And it at him and it went invisible and then it hit. But that's still... It's still not Captain America's fault. Vision did it. If Vision would have taken the shot or paid attention to his surroundings, Rhodey wouldn't have gotten hit. Yet, Tony lashes out. And we see in Avengers Infinity War, he's pretty forgiving as he shakes Cap's hand, you know what I mean? I'm just saying. He doesn't blame Cap at all, but Tony seems to, And then there's that fight at the end, and so here's my thought. All right, so Tony says, my dad made that shield. Or, that shield doesn't belong to you. I'm sorry, but yes, it does. Hey, your dad made the shield for him. It's his. Right? It's his. It's been frozen in ice with him for 70 years. It's his. I'm sorry. And all for what? They give it back to an Endgame? I'm just saying. We get some of Wakanda here to set up for Black Panther, and that Bucky's going to be there until the mind control thing is done. That's fine. Still think Bucky should have been in Black Panther more than just an end credit scene, but you know. So here's my problem with the origin story of Black Panther. Both I've seen, this one and the one in the animated series, in the animated cartoon movie, Ultimate Avengers 2. All right, we don't really get to see T'Chaka as the Black Panther. It's said that he was the Black Panther, and it was passed down to T'Challa when he died. But we never get to see T'Chaka become the Black Panther. Don't you want to just see him suit up once? Like, he could have died in the suit instead of a bomb that went off. And Zemo's supposed to be a better villain in the comics, I hear. And wear purple. I hear he's coming back for the Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is why it's still being called that, not Captain America and Winter Soldier, because, Endgame spoilers. But I'm just saying, and we'll get to that because I gotta talk about that. But all in all, this movie's great. Captain America movies are good regardless, but I do enjoy this. The action stuff, great. They use a sequence in this for an Audi commercial, I remember, and another sequence in Black Panther for another car commercial, so they're getting enough money for that. The return of Ross here. Why wait so long? It's shown that he's involved in this from the beginning. When Tony Stark goes to see him, we don't see him again. And then he's here. And what happened to Helen Cho and Dr. Selvig? They were shown to be working with the Avengers. They're not in this at all. But it's just minor complaints because I really enjoy this. I'm going to give it 8 out of 10. I enjoy this movie. There's just minor grabs with it. They keep down a little bit, but I really do enjoy it. So what are your thoughts on Captain America Civil War? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.